spokesman for the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, the Ethiopian politician, also an advisor to the acting president of the Tigray region. What did you mean in the last part of that tweet, sir?
You mean the money-making enterprise part?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Look, yeah, Abiy has been ratcheting up genocidal violence against the people of Tigray, and anyone who he thinks is standing in the way of his genocidal campaign. Abiy, from the get-go, has never been interested in peace, has never been interested in democracy, has never been interested in reforms. He was mostly interested in making sure that the entire Ethiopian population were cowed into submission. So, you know, the Tigrayans, unfortunately for him, stood in the way of his imperial ambitions. He wanted to be the king of kings of Ethiopia, but unfortunately the Tigrayans stood in that way. Now, after 9, 8, 10 months of violence against the people of Tigray, Abiy finds himself in a situation where he has to struggle for his life. Now that he realizes he's not in a position to turn the tide against our forces, he is trying to mobilize people, not just against TPLF or against our forces, but more importantly, against very people who are residing in other parts of Ethiopia, especially Tigrayans and Oromos. And
right,
of course,
let's talk about what's happening on the ground. Hold on for one sec. Well, there have been reports of atrocities on both sides. Right. Let's be quite clear about that, from the UN and the Ethiopian state-run Human Rights Council. Over the past couple of days, we've seen rebel forces allied to the TPLF advancing on the capital, Addis Ababa. This has led the Ethiopian military to issue a call to veterans to rejoin the army and protect their capital. I want to get from you, where are these fighters right now, and what are the plans to move on the capital? You certainly said it's not an ultimate objective, saying we have to break the siege on Tigray, and we will do what it takes to break the siege. We will have to do everything in our power that Abiy has unleashed on Tigray. What do you mean by that, and where are these forces?
It's quite simple. I mean, our forces are now in the northern part of Shoa, which is very close to the capital, Addis Ababa. Like we have been telling the world again and again, we're not particularly interested in the corridors of power in Addis. We're not particularly interested in territory. We are mostly interested in breaking the siege, which has been imposed by Abiy Ahmed. Once he realized he has failed in his military ambitions to retake Tigray, what he instituted is a reign of terror, especially by cutting off electricity, cutting off communications, cutting off banking services, and all those things. And our children are starving by their scores on a daily basis, by maybe tomorrow by their hundreds and by their thousands, simply because we said no to tyranny. Our children are being sentenced to death, and we have to break the siege. And the rest of the world, it seems to fail to understand how serious the problem is. Humanitarian aid has been blocked from the people of Tigray. Children are dying because of such a blockade, and we have to break this blockade. Right. And we'll continue to take appropriate measures to make sure that Abiy's chokehold on Tigray is broken.
Okay. Last hour, I spoke to the Ethiopian government's spokeswoman, and when asked about humanitarian access into Tigray, she said it was the TPLF who is blocking aid from getting through. What's your response?
Our response is, you know, I will give you an example. When we took Kombolcha last week, we communicated our intentions to the UN authorities for them to take over operations. We were not particularly interested in taking over warehouses, about 70,000 metric tons of food. The easiest thing for us would have been to carry out operations to help our own people. But we communicated to the UN, and we have been communicating this to the UN authorities, including Under Secretary General Martin Griffiths himself, that we are not particularly interested in taking over UN operations, but we expect them to take over operations. We are trying to break the deadlock. We are working with the UN authorities to make sure that aid reach not only to Tigray, but also other parts of Ethiopia, including northern Wollo and southern Wollo, which are under our control, including, of course, the Afar region. We have never been blocking aid. It is the government, it's Abiy's government, which has been standing in the way of humanitarian aid. And of course, to the extent that there is a need for ensuring access to food, we have to use our military power to arm twist Abiy's government into relenting on its chokehold on the people of Tigray.
That is your position. 9 opposition groups, including fighters loyal to the TPLF, recently formed a new alliance in Washington, saying they no longer recognize Abiy Ahmed's government as legitimate and would seek to establish transitional arrangements. What does that look like in reality? And how would the TPLF, who themselves governed Ethiopia with an iron fist, ensure a better future for the country?
Well, whatever the superlative there when it comes to TPLF rule in Ethiopia, we know that people have issues, but the fact that we are trying to break the siege, and of course the concomitant measures that we are going to take simply means that we have to coordinate our resources and our efforts with like-minded organizations. The list of organizations that you have alluded to is not an exclusive one. We still continue to work with other organizations which have vested interest in ensuring a stable transition in a post-Abiy world. We still are ready to extend olive branch. It's not us, but Abiy, who's been standing in the way of peace. So whatever
why were you not prepared? Why were you not prepared to take the offer of a humanitarian ceasefire back in June? I mean, top Ethiopian government officials have completely downplayed rebel advances, claiming they yield little popular support. Is it a ceasefire that you are looking for at this point? I'm just asking. I haven't. No, with respect, sir. I'm just putting questions to you. I'm just putting questions to you. No. I'm just putting a question to you.